Welcome to A Minute with Mike. I just, one of the things that I love to do in life is I love to read. I heard the quote, readers are leaders, and maybe you've heard that as well. And I heard another quote which really got my attention. The person who doesn't read is no better than the person who can't read. And so from a very young age, I got hooked on books and I love to read. And because reading opens up a whole new world. And so recently I've been rereading, and sometimes I do that, this book by John Maxwell called No Limits. And I've already shared a little bit about one of the topics from that book. But I want to share a couple of more. One of the things that John has a great quote. He says, counseling helps people work on their weaknesses, but equipping and coaching helps people work on their strengths. And one of the things I've discovered in life is I can improve my strengths. I can play to my strengths and get better at them. And at best, I can mitigate my weaknesses. I can eliminate much of the negative effect that those weaknesses have, but I really can't grow the capacity in that area. And so one of the things I try to do is apply the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of the time I'm playing to my strengths and 20% of the time I'm working on my weaknesses and bringing in people and doing things to mitigate those and minimize those as best I can. So in the book, No Limits, John talks about his three-part formula for growing capacity. And that is, number one, that's awareness. And that's an important one. And in a previous Minute with Mike, I talked about that. The second one is ability, how to grow your ability. And number three is about choices. And those three things together equal capacity. And so today I want to talk about the choices that we make and how important they are. The very first choice that we can make is in regard to our energy level. I love to read about, I love to hang around Navy SEALs. And one of the things, having been in an event with Mark Divine, and I would recommend some of the stuff that he teaches. He's got all kinds of stuff, Unbeatable Mind. But he really helps to focus in on how do you grow your energy. Because whatever level you train to is the level that you're going to execute at. And so to find out your limits, he talks about you got to train to your limits. And you got to push yourself. And I've discovered that sometimes pushing myself is very uncomfortable. Probably for you as well. We don't like to push ourselves because it gets us in a discomfort zone. But one of the bits of research that I found is that you have to be able to train to failure about 20% of the time. 80% of the time you make improvement, but 20% of the time you have to train to failure. You have to fail so you'll readjust. And it's so important. And there's a rule that they use. It's called the 40% rule. When you think you're done, when you've pushed yourself as hard as you can and you can't do any more, you're probably only 40% done. And that just shocked me when I first heard it. But I tell you, one of the things I've discovered, when I don't think I can do any more, I push myself just a little bit farther. And it's amazing what we're capable of in our energy level when we push ourselves and grow our energy level, growing that ability that we have to push ourselves beyond the area of comfort. The second area that we need to grow our ability in is in our emotions. This has been a huge one for me, to manage my emotions well. One of the things I want to do in life is be able to experience emotions, both highs and lows, but be able to manage those emotions well. That the highs that they don't knock me off in a positive way, that I think I'm invincible, and the negatives don't knock me down so I can't get back up and think I'm worthless. It's realizing I can experience both the highs and lows of emotion, but it's so key as well to be able to manage those emotions, understand what they are. And I kind of have this guideline, this rule. When I'm feeling an emotion, I ask the question, what am I feeling? I don't try to bury it. I ask myself, what am I feeling? The second thing is, what is actually going on that may have triggered that emotion? But the third most important question is, what's causing it? And that's where I get below the surface to find out what emotional triggers are there and how to manage those well. The number three area that's important is in your thinking, growing your thinking capacity. Albert Einstein, and everybody quotes him on this one, the same thinking that caused the problem, and I'm kind of paraphrasing it, the same thinking that caused the problem can't be used to solve the problem. And so it sometimes takes a different way of thinking outside the box, of getting input from others to be able to see things from a different perspective. I got a good friend of mine, Dyke Rogers. He has this great statement. Let's assume for the moment that it can't be done. But if it could be done, how would you do it? And it's amazing when I've used that in the past. It's like, well, I know it can't be done, but if it could be done, well, we would do this and this and this, and maybe add that and try this. And all of a sudden, when we think it can't be done, our creative mind shuts off. When we think it might be possible, our creative mind comes to life. And it's important to realize we can grow our thinking capacity by just adding new dimensions to our thinking outside the box, getting others' perspective on things. And lastly, the fourth one is people, growing in relationship with people. It's so important. Almost everybody I have talked to who has had any level of success give credit to some other people and the relationships and the people around them. Because we realize none of us can do it on our own. Nobody's an island. You can try. I've heard people say, well, I'm a self-made man, I'm a self-made woman. That really saddens me to hear that phrase. Because I go, no, there are people along the way who have helped you. You just don't realize how important those relationships were. And it's important to grow in our relationship, our ability to get along with people, be a part of a team, lead a team. It's all about developing relationships, about valuing people, about seeking their input, about listening to them, about you as a person being consistent, being a person of your word, doing the things that you say that you're going to do, following up on the things that are important. So those four things, if you want to grow your ability: energy, emotions, thinking, and relationships. And you're going to be better for it. Enjoy the journey.